What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where I give you the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today I want to focus on the offensive line. The way we are reshaping the offensive line here with Aaron Glenn and Darren Moji, I find it quite interesting, okay? Just like all over the roster, we are kind of overhauling things, putting a new stamp, a new model, a new brand on the green and white. And the offensive line is no different. The only part that is, I guess, different is that they actually have a lot to work with on the offensive line. They already are going to let go guys like Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith that don't fit the model because they are in their 30s, make a ton of money. We are going with a different route. But the interior line of the Jets is really among the best in the NFL, if you want to know the truth. Their three interior offensive linemen, the center and the two guards, all graded out as per PFF at 73 or above, which is pretty good. And actually, all three of them rank in the top 11 at their position. Check it out. John Simpson, for example, 77.3 grade is the 11th best among guards. Our other guard, AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker, graded out even better. 77.7 was the ninth best guard. So you have the ninth and 11th best guards in the NFL. That makes for one of the best tandem of guards in the NFL. Then you have Joe Tippmann out of Wisconsin, right? Was an all-rookie team in his rookie year. He graded out at 73.4 as the seventh best center in the NFL. So you got the seventh best center. You have two of the top 11 guards. The middle of the Jets offensive line is already strong and solid. And obviously with Tippmann and AVT, they are young. So they are going to be able to hopefully protect Justin Fields, hopefully be able to continue to open up holes in the run game. That leaves the two tackles, right? And when you look at the tackles, first off is Olu. He was their first round draft pick last year, if you remember. He got injured a little bit, kind of like 2/3 of the way through the season, but he was progressing nicely, okay? He was rated kind of in the middle of the pack as it comes to PFF, but that is expected for a rookie. People liked his development, and he only allowed one sack in 534 snaps. So I think there is a lot to kind of build on there. So I think we're set not only at the interior offensive line, but also at the left tackle spot for years to come, if you want to know the truth, right? So, in my opinion, that leaves one starting spot on the offensive line, and it is at right tackle. First off, I want to address that two of the signings the Jets have made in the offseason on the offensive line. First is Josh Myers at center, right? I think he is going to be a high-end backup for the Jets. Remember, he is also Justin Fields' center at Ohio State. He is going to be the backup interior offensive lineman, gives them flexibility. He can play center or guard, allow Tippmann to move over to guard, providing that flexibility. So in the NBA, you know how you need to have like a good sixth man, let's say, right? That is what the Jets now have in Myers as an interior offensive lineman. And then Okorafor is there, what is called in the NFL swing tackle. I think he is going to be the analogy again, the sixth man in the NBA. He is going to be the backup swing tackle. I don't expect Myers or Okorafor to start. So that leaves your two backup linemen. I told you about the interior offensive lineman and Fashanu at left tackle. That leaves right tackle. In the same way, Myers and Okorafor are going to be your high-end backups. A lot of analogies today to what I just talked about on yesterday's episode of Jets Latest for the wide receiver position, where I think like Tyler Johnson, where I think Malachi Corley are going to be your high-end backups, right? And we still need that wide receiver too. I think we have the backups. We have 4/5 of the offensive line solidified, and we just need that right tackle. My preferred option here, if we are going the free agency route. And I think the Jets are very smart right now because they are maintaining flexibility on how they approach this and are going to take what I think is a staged process to this where they never really get boxed out. One of the free agents that is still out there that I think would fit the model, fit the approach of this new Jets regime is Jedrick Wills. Jedrick Wills is over in Cleveland. He is a former first round pick. He's only 25 years old. Remember, these Jets are going after in free agency, guys that are in their mid 20s, guys that have that draft pedigree. What the Cleveland Browns did, because he was a first round pick, he played right tackle, okay? He was a right tackle, which is the need for us right now. But the Browns, they used a first round high draft pick on him, and they tried to move him to left tackle. It didn't work out so well. I think he is still a solid tackle, and he got banged up a little bit, got sick, and the Cleveland Browns had some drama with him, okay? So I don't know that he's going to command a ton of money. I think he could be had for $3-4 million, and if they could sign Jedrick Wills, I think that would be a very interesting move, because then it frees up the Jets also to not necessarily have to take an offensive tackle with their first round pick. Remember, we've been talking about guys like Membu, we've been talking about guys like Will Campbell, and I still think that is a good move. But if they were to get Jedrick Wills, it gives them flexibility to maybe go ahead and get Tyler Warren or one of the pass catchers with the first round pick, right? Because here's the other thing they can do. They can also then load up later on. There are a few tackles. We're all talking about Membu. We're all talking about Campbell. If they sign someone in free agency, they can also get a tackle in the second round, right? I mean, the Jets have number 42 overall, which is a pretty high-end second round draft pick. And there are tackles that are really rated, kind of like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th tackles in this draft that might go and can still be legitimate starters in this league that they can get at 42 overall. Guys like Connerly out of Oregon, guys like Irsay out of Minnesota, guys like Marcus Mumbo out of Purdue, right? So they have that flexibility if they were to pounce on a guy like Jedrick Wills, okay? And I think that that is a way they could go. However, and this is where I say it's kind of like a choose your own adventure, right? It's kind of like if this happens, we can pivot this way. If this happens, we can pivot this way. So if they don't sign a guy like Jedrick Wills, and they still are in love with Tyler Warren, let's say, at number 7 overall, and they go ahead and get a Marcus Mabo out of Purdue in round 2, they may look to kind of solidify that a little bit in the free agent market. But if you remember, I talked about yesterday how in the wide receiver market, there was a surplus of veteran wide receivers that were 30 to 32 years old. I think I named like 10 of them that if they needed to, they can kind of drop in and be okay. The same thing remains at tackle in free agency. I think Jedrick Wills is the best option if they're going to actually spend any money in free agency. But check this out. There's Joe Noteboom from the Rams at 30. He's 30 years old. Okay, there is DJ Humphries from the Chiefs, 32 years old. George Fant from the Seahawks and others at 33 years old. Kendall Lamb, 33 years old. Andre Dillard, 30 years old. But these guys, to be quite honest, we're now getting into guys that, quite frankly, aren't going to command much more money and, quite frankly, aren't necessarily as good as Okuforu, right? So I don't know that that's necessarily what they want, but there are options like Trent Brown, Isaiah Wynn, Jermaine Ifedi, all are options at tackle. And those are left tackles. There's more, right? So I say there is a surplus of tackles. So this provides flexibility for the Jets to go in a number of different ways. I think if they go the free agent route, Jedrick Wills should be the move. If they do that, it frees them up to prioritize Warren with number 7 overall, maybe get a second round tackle. If they don't want the price of, say, a Jedrick Wills, they don't want to get a guy who's 31 years old in free agency, then they could prioritize the offensive tackle at number 7 overall. And we've talked about it, right? It could be Will Campbell. We've talked about it. It could be Membu. And that would get them that right tackle to complete this offensive line. And a lot of people have been talking about Tyler Warren. On tomorrow's episode of Jets Latest, I'm going to also give you insights on a couple of other tight ends that might be available in the draft. Everyone's talking about Tyler Warren, making the comps to last year with Brock Bowers. Let me tell you something. There are a couple of other tight ends that could be mismatches, that could be legitimate pass catchers for the Jets available in the draft if they take the opposite approach, right? I'm talking about what if it's Warren at 7 and they go O-lineman at 42. But if they go O-lineman At 7, there are options for the Jets at tight end at number 42, and we will discuss that a little bit in tomorrow's episode of Jets Latest. So that's a little bit of a tease for you, right? So that's what I think happens at the offensive line position and how they maintain some flexibility. But I would be remiss if we did not talk about an old friend, Aaron Rodgers. Listen, the idea that the Jets have made this youth movement started by us informing Aaron Rodgers that he was not part of our plan moving forward, right? Aaron Rodgers went into the darkness. He's on the beach. Maybe he's talking to his shaman, doing some ayahuasca. But you know what I find interesting is that he is continuing his trend of kind of enjoying everybody waiting for him. You may have heard a couple of weeks ago that he wanted to go to the Rams, but then the Rams decided to bring back Matthew Stafford, right? The options for him seem to be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Football Giants. I don't know if he wanted those options, so he was flirting with the Steelers, flirting with the Giants. The Giants then maybe have withdrawn their offer, and now the Minnesota Vikings are out there on the table. They drafted, if you remember, J.J. McCarthy last year. Maybe they do want to bring in Aaron Rodgers. I mean, listen, if I was a quarterback, I'd want to go to Minnesota also, throwing to Justin Jefferson, throwing to Jordan Addison, throwing to T.J. Hawkinson, with Kevin O'Connell kind of as the quarterback whisperer up there, right? Did the thing with Sam Darnold. That's why Daniel Jones went up there. So that is an attractive option. But here's the thing. There are other teams and other free agent quarterbacks that are kind of waiting because Aaron Rodgers is now the next domino to fall. Look at, for example, Russell Wilson. Look at, for example, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, it looks like, want to sign Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers, I think, is holding out hope for Minnesota. And then look at Russell Wilson, who wants to sign, maybe back with the Steelers, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are holding out hope for Aaron Rodgers. And then the dominoes keep on falling, because if Pittsburgh isn't an option, maybe Russell Wilson goes to the Giants, for example. But the Giants don't want to make a move on Russell Wilson because they don't know what options are still available. The Giants also had Jameis Winston in for a visit. They don't want to make a move on Winston if they think Russell Wilson might be available. Russell Wilson doesn't want to go to the Giants if he thinks Pittsburgh may still be available. Pittsburgh wants to go with Rodgers, but Rodgers doesn't want to go there because he thinks Minnesota might still be reasonable. And then you have the Steelers talking about how they're comfortable potentially with Mason Rudolph. They're entertaining Jalen Milroe potentially in their early 20s first round pick. The Giants saying maybe they'll take Shedeur Sanders. All this posturing, all this smokescreen, ironically enough, is still tied to Aaron Rodgers and his decision. Here's what I gotta say. As a Jets fan, I am happy that we no longer have to deal with that and him kind of puppeteering it all, him with his media appearances, him with the idea of deprioritizing the team building. We have a new culture here in New York with young dogs that want to compete, young guys that want to get better, grow, and perform. And that started with Justin Fields, and I'm glad that we do not have to worry about the drama surrounding Aaron Rodgers. So that'll do it for this edition of Jets Latest. This is what we need to do at offensive line. We are solid with 4/5 of it. We have the backups that we need in Myers and Okorafor, and now we just need to drop in that right tackle. Could it be Jedrick Wills? We'll see over the next couple of days. If not, they have options at offensive line in the draft, and then if they strike out on Wills, if they strike out in the draft or get a second round pick in the draft where they still think they need a veteran, there is no shortage of veterans that can be had and will not break the bank for us, okay? So we continue to be in a good spot. Do me a favor, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe to Jets Latest. This way, every time we go live, you get an alert, you get an opportunity to learn more about the Jets, Jets. And by the way, if you want to hear more from me, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, tune in to Sirius XM on the Fantasy Channel. I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show, which is a great website, data fantasy, giving you so many tools to go ahead and win your leagues and win that cash. Like I said, tomorrow I will highlight some of the tight end options that are not named Tyler Warren in the draft and maybe make people feel okay if we do go O-line in round 1, that there are options for us in round 2. That'll be tomorrow. But for today, like, subscribe, check us out, tell a Jet fan friend to tell a Jet fan friend, and we will see you tomorrow here, finishing off the week on Jets Latest. I'm out of here. Peace.